but I found patience, avoided altercations, kept my focus on the grind. Not for paper, but to get a better mind. See, over time, I realized the choice was good. A lot of things.
Sentencing, after the judge sentenced them, is most likely is going to be a year of probation. I will oversee that case. I will make sure they go to counseling as ordered, that they are paying, if they have to pay or make payments, that those are paid, and then possible random drug urine tests while they're on probation. Any violation of probation will come to me, and I will determine whether they need to come back before the judge and possible incarceration. They're under guidelines. Their probation will be put on LEAN, that's law enforcement information network. If they are ever in a car, they're ever police for some reason have to talk to them, they can run their name, pull up their probation requirements. Now understand, we have a zero tolerance for people who are on probation for alcohol issue. There is zero tolerance, none. No birthdays, no 4th of July, nothing. You blow anything but zeros on a PBT and you will submit or be violated. If any police officer, if I request a PBT done and you refuse, you will automatically go to jail. That's my policy. And he will sit there until the next business day. Now, if it's Monday or if it's Labor Day and it's happen to be Tuesday and they're arrested on a Friday, they'll sit there all weekend until we come and see them. There is no bonding out on a probation violation.
Yo, I'm a warrior, I'm cool on my own. I got no time for the hype, man, I'm wrong. And you can ride, but that's not me, man.
We have not agreements, but understandings with the courts, juvenile court, the district court, and circuit court, to provide an alcohol highway safety program for first-time offenders of drinking and driving. So that would be anyone between 16 and 21 or over than that. And they come in for a 4-hour class. It's their first offense. So it's brief, it's very informational. We explain to them about the drinking and driving charges and what could be involved as far as costs and such, probation, other areas of their life that could be affected by this arrest and offense. And then also if they continue the behavior, what else could happen to them as far as other charges, other criminal, offenses, and possibly even jail or prison time. Minors in possession, whether or not they've been driving, they do come to us for what we have an adolescent substance abuse education program. And again, it's very similar to the alcohol highway safety, although it's geared towards the adolescents. And again, it's a 4-hour, very informational type of setting. And we try to explain to them the dangers and the harms that they could cause themselves in the future with their drug and alcohol use, and other things that could prohibit them from doing what they want to do in the future.
Yo, I'm a warrior, I'm cool on my own. I got no time for the hype, man, I'm wrong. And you can ride, but that's not me, man.
You're sentenced to driving under the influence. If it's a driving impaired, you're going to pay $1,165 or $1,173. State costs have just gone up. You will pay that. That's due at time of sentencing. And then you will have driver responsibility fees to the state of Michigan. That's separate from the $1,173 that we're going to charge. That's anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a year for 2 years. And then you could have a 90-day suspension, may be issued or restricted. If you happen to have a MIP, a minor in possession ticket, nothing to do with drinking and driving, but you happen to have a minor in possession ticket from before, that's already on your driver's record. I mean, they gave you a number for a driver's license before you ever got one, perhaps, but it's on there. So you may be absolutely no license for the first 30, 60, 90 days. So you're going to have to find out a way to go to work or whatever. That's your problem from then on. Understand also, having a misdemeanor on your record, we have home health care young people that lost their jobs because they have a misdemeanor, and they cannot have a misdemeanor on their record. Going in the medical field, that can interfere with you. People you go to hire, especially with the economy now, who are they going to hire? Someone that doesn't have a license or has got a drunk driving issue that maybe not be able to get to work every day? Boy, that's a big one. Employers want someone who's going to be there every day, and you got transportation issues, they're going to go to the next person on the list.
The cost of insurance for a good student, good grades, and a good driving record for 6 months, and this is just your mandatory coverages, what people refer to as PLPD, might be for a 17-year-old around $540 for 6 months. you get a DUI ticket, that same individual will end up paying approximately $2,800 for 6 months. So that's $2,300 a year, or every 6 months difference. You add that up times 3, and then you're still going to be surcharged 100% of a standard premium from 3 years to 5 years for that DUI offense.
I always warn people at the time of their arraignment that in addition to the maximum penalty that I can impose and the consequences imposed by the Secretary of State, depending on their circumstances in life, there may be other consequences as well for a conviction. For example, I've heard that it's difficult to leave the country and enter back into the country with a drinking and driving conviction. I've been informed that there are certain occupations that you cannot be licensed for if you have a drinking and driving conviction. Many young people do not think of the consequences of a conviction for drinking, underage, or drinking and driving before they do it, and then find themselves here and they are literally scared to death that they're going to get a conviction that is going to impair their ability to get an education or impair their ability for a career in the future. And unfortunately, it does, and unfortunately, when they appear in court, it's too late.
We talked a few minutes ago about $5,000. I mean, when you look at court costs on a first case, drunk driving, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,200, $1,300. If you hired a lawyer to hold your hand through the process, they're entitled to that. But you know, and they're entitled to fight it. But you might pay anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000. We don't see many $10,000 cases up here, but easily $1,000 or a little bit more than that for an attorney that would walk you through the process. You're up to $2,800. The Secretary of State's office is going to hit you on a drunk driving first offense, $1,000 a year for 2 years. That's another $2,000 added onto that. Yeah, you know, you're up to now what, $4,300. That doesn't count your cost of counseling classes or anything else that's court ordered that you must attend. Then you add in your insurance costs as a youthful driver with a drunk driving conviction. I mean, this is a very expensive process. If that doesn't get your attention, you can buy a lot of taxi cab rides. You give $100 to every friend of yours that you have if you want to go out and drink and drive, to drive you home and stay sober for the amount of money you're going to pay into the system. Not to say the impact it's going to have on your ability to get certain jobs. Obviously, CDLs, if you want to drive a commercial truck after you get out of high school and you've got a drunk driving conviction, it's very, very difficult to get those. And you can never wipe off a drunk driving ticket.
I felt them temptations, but I found patience, avoided altercations, kept my focus on the grind, not for paper, but to get a better mind.
I felt like I was just gonna lose everything. I thought my parents would just pretty much disown me, and I didn't think it was gonna. I thought it was gonna mess up my getting into the nursing program at Saginaw Valley State University. So, but I'm trying to get back into it. It's obviously going to affect me getting in.
First of all, I'd like to say drinking and driving is truly a dead end, not only for yourself, but for the other people that you could involve in your accident. And your lives are much more enhanced without alcohol or drugs because it's you, it's authentic. And I would hope that everyone wants to be authentic in their life.
Well, there's a lot of other things to do out there. I mean, it's not worth having that record on there to have to explain yourself every time you go in for a job interview on what happened that day and why you did that, and are you an alcoholic, you know, since you have an alcohol conviction there.
Every decision you make has a consequence. And understand this one is a lifelong one, because it's going to start your criminal history.
We're not so naive as to think they're not going to drink. They shouldn't. That's our official message. But if they do drink, there's only one thing they have to remember: don't drive.
Oh, there's absolutely no way I would have gotten behind the wheel. I mean, I'd done it X amount of times in the past, and thought I was invincible driving when I was drunk. I didn't think it ever happened to me, and just one little mistake is all it took, and it got me.
Picture a room with your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your cousins, your aunties and uncles, your lover, your grandparents and your friends from school and college.